Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, uh, STC and the Secretary to Prime Minister here. Committee will now resume. STC and SPM, thank you for coming. It's not a new process to both of you. I mean, you have been part of this process in the past. We are now inquiring into the 2026 Appropriation Bill 2025. And as usual, the modality of this inquiry is that, we'll be asking questions just from you. So we will begin just featuring some of the main features of the budget. Looking at the last 5 years, I think you have been, the allocation seems to be fluctuating, simply depending on the kind of event that has happened. For this year, understandably, there's a huge increase. And for next year's proposal that you put forward, I think there's a reduction. And on an year to year, that represents some 30% reduction. Let's hope that you don't come up with any supplementary. But I mean, this is just some kind of an advice, in this kind of a process that we are going through. Yeah, that's the feature of your budget. Just run us through with what you're feeling about, the situation next year. You think that, you will still stick to the kind of allocation that is being given to you, or will there be some new demands coming forward next year? Let's start off with that question. SPM?
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairman and Honourable members of the Public Accounts Committee. This afternoon, the OPMC is very much honoured to appear before you. I have here my team, colleagues. So on my far right, if I may just introduce them, Honourable Chair, this is my Deputy Secretary for National Security, and of course, just right next to him is this special SPM Special Duty, and to my immediate left is our Financial Controller, and of course the Secretary to Cabinet and the SPM Corporate Services, and just at our bike is our Human Resource Manager. This is basically the team from the Prime Minister's office this afternoon. Let me perhaps just say here that just to respond to the question that's been raised, I think overall the budget provisions that have been provided to us, we are fairly comfortable with them as provided. But before that, I just wanted to perhaps just touch on a few key things which I wanted to say at this stage. As you know, Honourable Chair, the line of work in which the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet does directly linked, of course, to the assigned responsibilities of the Prime Minister. Of course, a good amount of the work is centered around the coordination of our government, the implementation of government's policies, as well as driving some other transformative policies that are linked with the overall Government of National Unity's policy pillars on transformation, unity and stability, human capital development, as well as on infrastructure development. And in carrying out our work, our coordination work, of course, is delivered through the four key sectors that we have. That is the fundamental sector, productive sector, resource sector, and social sector. I'm just referring to that because of the importance of that coordination role that we do have. In terms of the 2026 budget priorities, I wanted to just reiterate them for the purposes of just being clear on where our overall coordination comes in to play here, and that is on building economic resilience, diversifying the economy, and this is covered in the budget book. Investing in transformative infrastructure, improving the delivery of public services to all Solomon Islanders, promoting peace, unity and security, as well as strengthening fiscal stability in the medium to long term. Yeah? Now, as I indicated too earlier on, Honorable Chairman, the draft estimates as provided for in the recurrent and development budget are basically, we are generally okay with that. There are some key works that we would do in 2026, and this pertains, as I said earlier on the coordination monitoring work that is done by our policy team, and of course through the work of Cabinet as well, through Office of the Secretary to Cabinet in terms of working directly with permanent secretaries. We are also, in next year, we also will be involved in some infrastructure projects that are tied to our development budget, but also another key project which is utilizing resources from the government of Australia, and that is for the PM's officials' residence. There is some preparatory work going on at this stage, of which we will also be supporting. Beside that, of course, we'll be looking at preparations for preparatory work, pre-design work for a potential office for the Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet, and on top of that as well, we'll begin construction of several tier 1, tier 2 state residences using our development budget. In terms of governance and oversight, of course, we will be continuing with the audit work of the Pacific Games. That's also featured in resources that we have sought. And of course, supporting work that's towards the Constituent Assembly around the cost-benefit analysis, as well as other preparatory work for the Constituent Assembly work. And of course, in terms of international engagement, supports PM's regional and international engagements, especially in relation to his role as the chair of the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat. And on top of that, strategic, continuing to forge partnerships to support our national developments. So our recurrent budget, if I may just go to that, our overall recurrent budget stands at 120.76 million, as you have seen in that. Payroll-wise, 56 million, and other charges is at about 64 million. In terms of our development budget, it stands at about 9.45 million. And it's got two main components. One is to support work that is done by the Solomon Islands Broadcasting Corporation. This is around the AM transmission tower, or SIBC station in Lata. And the other one, of course, is the support to the work of the PM's residence work, as well as the Tier 2 house construction, which we hope to do, and some other minor maintenance work around the office. So that's essentially the budget as it is. But to the overall question you asked, Honorable Chairman, I think generally we are comfortable with the current estimates that have been allocated to us at this stage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, SPM. So the only possible requirement, within the function that perhaps might require some demand for expenditure would be his role as the chairman of the forum. Would that be your understanding?
Yeah, I mean, we've also in our planning we've also accounted for that. Most of it, as you know, Honorable Chairman, most of the expenses and costs would be, of course, covered by the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, but there are also others that we would have. So we are trying to ensure that that the Prime Minister is able to discharge his roles and functions as chair.
So that will require traveling,
yes,
perhaps,
yeah,
and all of that. Yeah, I think that's quite understandable. Yeah. Let me just come to some of the outstanding tasks that I think the office need to deal with, and perhaps you, SPM Special Ladies, could respond to this. What's the progress on the audit of the National Hosting Authority? Just as up to date on whether the audit has been.
Thank you, Chairman, on that. So right now, there are 3 audits that are being done. So one is the normal one, is mandatory audit, is the financial audit. And the financial audit covers the years 2019 up to 2023. So on that, KPMG and the Auditor General, so the audit is being conducted under the auspices of the Office of the Auditor General. It's been divided into 2, and that reason for that, Chairman, is that the 2019 audit was not closed off in 2020. And because that was not done, we could not do annual audits. So the audit for the whole 5 years is done as one, which has its challenges because the Games Organizing Committee that ran the games has already disbanded in 2023. So the National Hosting Authority is using all the documents to pull that together. But coming back to the question, so it's in progress. The first block, which is 2019, 2020, 2021, that has been completed from the perspective of our input. We've submitted the financial, they have done the field work, they come back with the management letter, we've responded to that. We are now waiting for them to finalize. We hope that that will be closed off this year. Then we have submitted already our 2022 financial statements, and our 2023 financial statements will be submitted before Christmas. We just have to deal with the imprests, and then we'll submit that. So all of that will be with the auditors. We anticipate that the first quarter of next year, there'll be field work to look at 2022 and then 2023. We're hoping that we'll be able to close that off by June of next year. Now, and then of course, because we haven't closed, we were there 24, 25, and 26, which is 24, 25, straightforward in our view, because it was payment of outstanding dues, retentions, not much activities. So that's already, we're already preparing that. Best case scenario is June of next year to complete the financial audits, but if it doesn't happen by June, definitely by next year. So we see the NHA's work for next year under 4 basic areas: to complete all the audits, and then of course to dispose of the balance of all the assets, and we hope to do that by the end of this year. Compile the final report that will be presented and tabled by the Prime Minister to Parliament, and that includes the audited financials, and then the closure of the NHA, the formal closure. So that is that's the first audit. Can I just update you on the 2 other audits? So that is the mandatory audit. Now, in addition, the Auditor General can commission special audits, which he has done. And the commissioning of special audits is in response to areas where he has seen maybe some areas of concern, whether from public or his own observations. So that audit has been completed by the auditors. They have presented the report to us. We have just submitted our response to it. And because the nature of that audit is Auditor General's report. Once he completes that, it's the end of that report, and then of course he can use the outcomes of that whichever way he wants. The third audit is the audit by the Australian government. That's their own audit. They provided $100 million to Pacific Games, and that is being audited from their own expenditures. That audit has also been completed except for 2025. We have one single payment in 2025. So as soon as we close up the closing balances of 24, we finish the 2025, and that will be closed. So I guess in summary, the special audit will be concluded this year. The audit by the Australian government will be concluded this year. The audit of the first part, 2019, 2020, 21, of the mandatory financial audit will be concluded this year. And then we have the final phase of 2022-23 audit. Hopefully will be closed by June of next year.
Well, thank you. I mean, you were referring to the various audits that are going to be conducted. Special audit is something that really at the discretion of the Auditor General.
That's right.
It's really up to him. He can respond to any request for special audit. So that's a matter for him to deal with. And whenever he completes his report, that it becomes a public document, and then possibly the interest of the Public Accounts Committee will trigger on that. I think for the purposes of the interest of the Public Accounts Committee is simply because of the financial audit here. NHA is a statutory institution. And therefore, there's a need for us to look at it on an annual basis because appropriations are done on the annual basis. So I think that is where the interest of this committee is. How far have you gone to be able to do the annual audit for those particular years? Yeah? I think when was the institution established? I mean, it was enacted in
December 2018.
18, was it?
Yeah.
So it's 18 to 19 and so forth. So maybe if you can just tell us, why is it there's difficulty in us not being able to have the audit? Because, I mean, this should be a fairly efficient process. No more. We are not running a ministry here. It's a statutory organization. The laws are very clear on the way that it should conduct its financial transactions and so forth. So can you, just briefly inform the committee so that, we can be just aware no more what are the difficulties of those individual years here as to why we weren't able to have the audit for the specific financial year. Because that would be a good lesson for us going forward into the future, especially in creating entities like this. Yeah? Or is it that National Hosting Authority will become an institution that BABAM continue on into the future, or it will have to have a certain time that it must terminate its activity? Can you explain to the committee, please?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I'll answer the last question.
Sure.
So it's a sunset entity. The Act is very clear that once the report is tabled in Parliament, NHA no longer exists. So that's the end point. Coming back to the first question, as I referred to, the audit of the NHA is under the auspices of the Auditor General's Office. The reason why we have not been able to do annual audits is because it was not possible for the Auditor General's Office to conclude the 29 audit in 2020. And because that was not concluded, there was no closing balance, and therefore that just continued on. Our focus was on delivering the games, but we rely on the Auditor General's Office to assist us to conclude the audits. So I think that's where the difficulty was. The NHA submitted our financial statement in April of 2020, the 2019 report, but at that stage it was not able to be concluded. So I'd probably just leave it like that. And because we were not able to conclude the 2019 report in 2020, we were not able to do the 2020 and the 2021, which is why I think now it's grouped into one long audited project. Mr. Chairman, I think the other difficulty there is because it's a special fund. It's required to be done as cash expenditure and cash audit as opposed to accruals. And that presented us with challenges as well, which we've had to manage and navigate, that we have to go from our life file of accruals and then go back into what was cash expenditure for that year and then have a closing balance. So I think that complicated the matter. But that's basically it. But we are very happy at this point that we are on track to finish all 5 years next year. And then, of course, 24 and 25, those could actually be done as annuals, but we're waiting for closing balances of the 2023 before doing those.
Well, I think it's that is a very significant point. I mean, continuation of the next financial year will depend on the closing of the initial year. So if initial year is not concluded, then the subsequent years will have to be affected. So that is a very, very significant point here. And like, for instance, this institution is really under the watch of the highest department law country, the Office of the Prime Minister. It sets a very bad example to other institutions here. We cannot have organization to be run like that. I think that is a very, very significant point to point out. Then the question will rise: what happened to the closing balance of the initial year? What are the main hurdles? Receipts, accounts, documents are not being provided because we have to have it concluded. Because if that is not done, then the performance audit law, Audit General will have to trigger. It will have to trigger to spot what are the weaknesses here that has not led to the delivery of the financial services, or the financial accounts of the institutions for audit here. So it really depends on how you guys wanted to do it in terms of, accountability and, how transparent we run it. Maybe both has to be run together now to have the special audit trigger to find out where another problem so that the financial auditor can flow like that. That's my view and comment on it, because, it's a very significant issue here. And really, right now, it's hanging over this highest body law country, the Office of the Prime Minister. And just coming back to the issue of special fund, I recall that when we made the interview last year, we were not really applying the special fund here. NHA was really running its own accounts here and delivery in the normal system, that government doing out of Treasury, and then the development budgets from the national planning, I think, something like that. Special fund was not applied. The rules under the special fund. So maybe these are some of the things that possibly you can comment on. Is that the situation?
Thank you. Maybe on the first one on the audit, perhaps the Office of the Auditor General is best placed to advise on why the 2019 financial audit was not completed on time. The reason being that we actually submitted to the Office of the Auditor General in April of 2020. Our expectation was that we work and then complete that so that we can learn from the recommendations and lessons as we go into the next financial year. So on that one, I think it's both the Office of the Auditor General and the NHA on 2019. And as far as special fund is concerned, you're correct. I think we discuss that. We have had the Attorney General look into it. This has been a point raised by the audit as well, the financial audit, looking at whether it was a special fund. And I think there's discussion between the Auditor General's office and us about how the special fund is worked. Because our view was that it was not operating as a special fund from the budgetary and approval process. When the fund was approved and went into the NHA, it operated like the special fund in terms of expenditure and control. But I think our advice was at that point that the current practice in other special funds is that it's appropriate in the same manner as was the NHA. So the fund that is run by MID is also operated in the same manner with money coming in through that. So, sir, I think that is an area where there probably needs to be a bigger look at the whole special funds, what is the practice and what is the legal requirement. There seems to be a mismatch from where we sit, but I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Thank you. Well, any other issues that anyone
Yeah,
wants
I just
to
want
raise?
to affirm that, Chairman. With special fund blue me and problematic long term come now. One example now, aviation fund. Yeah. We haven't heard much of the NDC fund, but empty fund no one man. But it does need to be reviewed. Of course, Constitution Hemi give him clear basis for him. So the basis of it we have no problem with. The practice of it and it's being sitting parallel with him consolidated fund there. Sometimes I'm almost excuse him from the FMA, and this is the major weakness in the regulatory framework around it. So we haven't seen any accounts blow, for instance, Civil Aviation Fund there, or any of the others. I think National Transport Fund, not even a report, but no anyone else. So it is a serious problem. When the Auditor General gets in next week, we will be asking him why 2019 or the initial stages of NHA audit was delayed. And I hope it's not because of documentation, because usually auditors, if documents not available about where wait and get frustrated and also. So the quality of documentation is absolutely critical. SPM special notice me no luluki mo report it, but me start seksek go first time na. Just because me seksek from ESP report, we haven't had the opportunity to do a detailed inquiry lo PAC lo hem yet, but obviously there were gross abuses of public funds under law ESP, and given the difficulties you tell them weaknesses around regulatory framework of special funds and the way disbursements were done and so forth. Me little bit worried it will be big amount too much. And we go and we've had to forego services so that resources could go into us hosting the games. So that's all in the future. We're grateful. We appreciate all the effort you've put in as chairman of NHA and holding the thing together, and on the the big picture stuff that's good. We've delivered successful games, so embargo good, but we just need to tidy up all these reporting issues.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can I just?
Yes, please.
Yes, I think the points you raised are very important. We definitely have learned from this. I think that's the first thing. As far as the game is concerned, it was the best, the largest, and all that. That's waters under the bridge. I think where we've learned the most is in terms of the processes, in terms of how do we actually deliver instead of following those. And I think there are lessons learned. We are compiling a lessons learned document, so that in the event the government hosts another big event, the things that we find that did not work can be left out there. The things that we recommend don't go there will be there. But I think now we're going under the microscope. I think in as far as two things we're proud of, we won't be like a FOPA. We won't have unpaid people coming in. There are 2 or 3 legal issues that we are looking at, and all of them have been clarified, say one. which we're talking with. So I don't think we'll leave the government in debt. In this case, which I think is a good thing. Our difficulty, and I go back to the annual reports, if we had done annual audits, it would be much easier because the biggest driver of the game, which is the Games Organizing Committee, would have been in place. And they would have been able to clarify expenditures and procurements. That's another lessons learned. Yes, I don't think it was to do with information very much. I think it was also to do with staffing. And that was also, well, towards the end of the year was the COVID start to come in, but I think there was sort of staffing both on our side and OAG. But please do find out from the OAG. At the moment, we are not sort of looking at who's at fault. We are more looking at trying to make sure that we provide the narrative of the record of expenditure so that it becomes public information. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thing is not to find who's at fault. I mean, or to find I am doing something wrong and right in this whole exercise. It's basically...
Well, if there is wrong, we do find fault.
Of course. Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that will be the outcome of the audit report. Yes. I mean, the financial audit. I mean, but we are talking about two different things too here. FOPA is a spending that can be directly out of the normal government treasury. NHA is quite different here. Yes. It was meant to be special fund, and then we shifted out from that and then reverted back to, and then now we want to go back to the special fund. So that's where the complication becomes. So these are the things that, you know, we need to differentiate in this whole thing. But I think at this level, what is important is for us to demand what now, you know, Parliament requires of this institution. That's the requirement that Parliament imposes on National Hosting Authority. So, yeah, let's hope that what needs to be done has to be completed so that, you know, we can see what now lessons and that we can learn from and then improve on going forward into the future. Yeah. Yes, Noni George, you want to say something?
Thank you, Chair. For clarification, Noma. Total budget beliau wala hem no straight ya. Lo submission beliau hem different figure. Lo brick mi valgarem hem different figure. Lo bill different figure. Which one number we talk about there?
Maybe it's a statutory. There are some statutory.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was going to respond to that. Yeah. The difference is because of the statutory expenditure. So under the recurrent, for example, there are statutory bodies attached to the Office of the Prime Minister, and that is the Leadership Code Commission, for example. So their costs are reflected differently. So it comes to about a difference of about $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes to about a difference. So it's about, so we've got a recurrent of about 120 million, but in here it's written as 119, I believe, and that difference is due to the reflection of the statutory component of the budget that is allocated to the Prime Minister's office as statutory. So,
Chair, that's clear. But what we look in is low submission level. There's a figure there. But look, brick when we will receive him a different figure, and the details of the expenditure. Him match him no more amount of brick does not match the amount you submit him. Valgarim different buka. Ivala no sabe, but this is the figure given here is 120,760,432. Yeah?
that's right, yeah.
But lo mission blame 120,722,471. So the details of the expenditure now, the brick him reflect this figure. It does not reflect the figure you provided by about 7,000.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I would believe that would be maybe a typographical thing, because I mean in terms of the what we submitted, but I have my financial controller here. He probably in the best position to speak to the specifics of it.
Sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
Chair, actually there is an error there. We will reconcile that.
Okay.
Just on the constitutional reform unit. So there will be consultancy work needs to be done next year. So with that consultancy work, there won't be any work done on the Constituency Assembly, or?
Thank you, Chair. I would defer to my Secretary to Cabinet to speak to the specifics of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, SPM. So, in terms of the work of the federal government, there are two sort of work that is sort of being run concurrently. One is on the cost-benefit analysis. So the government engaged a consultant, Peter Forau, who leads that work in terms of doing the cost-benefit analysis. So that's one component of the work. The other component of the work is basically within the government, and this is on a task force to review the Constituent Assembly Act 2024. Constituent Assembly sitting, a bill, I should say, 2024. And so there's a task force that is being established by the Cabinet to actually review that bill. As you know, the bill doesn't go through the Parliament last year, and so we established this particular task force. It's basically a bipartisan task force that we have representatives from the government side as well as those from the independent as well as opposition side who are members of the task force. So, yeah, the review work is in progress, I should say, and then once we submit the report to the Cabinet, and then that will perhaps inform what will the Constituency Assembly sort of do next. But we are basically zooming down to that bill by way of getting views from various stakeholders to be captured in the bill.
Is that what you're understanding? Both leaders are here. Are you in that bipartisan?
Not yet, but now Mayor, so we look forward to. Is that at officials level or?
At officials level, yeah. So from the opposition side, we have Francis Wallenis here, and then from the independent, we have Willie Karamui, and then we have officials from the Office of the Prime Minister, and as well as officials from the Attorney General chambers. Yeah.
So I would suggest, this is a suggestion we made on the floor last year, that as soon as there's some clarity from that officials level platform, then take them come to political level, so we workshop it, yeah?
Yes.
We have a more conciliatory approach to it. And we agree outside law how by and proceed, well, what is involved and how by and proceed. So when we come to the floor, it's not as contested as it was last year, and we can, many of those issues could have been fixed. But time Kasim floor, politics being what it is, or man defensive, so I'm a little bit hard. So don't spend too much time on it at the officials level. Bring it up to political level, make them, we can both sides workshop it.
Noted, Chairman.
We all agree this matter needs to be brought to a conclusion. The question of whether or not we move with that particular proposal needs to be concluded, yeah. So how we get to it here now, there's been differences, so we have to fix it, and fix it soon. So if you will say next year, must do it next year, because last year, if I say this year, then we go for December mona, yeah. So, really invest some energy and some time in it, so we can actually conclude it next year and hopefully set it up properly, and then decide once for all. Well, maybe not once for
Thank you, Chair. Noted.
Oh, I'm too much now of a lot of officials here because they will be drawing a lot of resources to it. Yeah, I think the chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee has actually written to you, or possibly to the Prime Minister, asking that solution to this is basically to bring that bill back to Parliament, and then, as what we've suggested, we can have at least some kind of a workshopping lawyer and then agree to it, and then the final say to whether or not we proceed or not, it has to be the Constituency Assembly, Emerson, to make that recommendation to Parliament. So I don't think that will require any additional resources here. That's on that. I think we need to bring this matter to some conclusion, or at least, give some, at least some understanding to our people. I mean, this is such a very highly charged issue in the past, and it will still remain so. So let's deal with it. I mean, if that bill is ready, quickly put him come here now. Make him do the workshopping here. That's on that. Any other issues anyone like?
Yeah, just on another matter. This Radio Temotu, this has been on the budget books for a few years. Where are we now? Go kasing lorif, or lorif. Yeah. Ko umplin tu mas What must climb up on top breadfruit tree na ho? RMSIBC.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that very important question regarding this radio. I think it only goes to demonstrate the importance of having that radio. I'll start off by just saying that SIBC is in charge of implementing this project. They had some issues with the land acquisition process. Some landowners who initially were going to give land pulled off along the way, and so they had to be
So different site more from site where all one is establishment?
A slightly different site. We needed a bigger site because of the transmission requirements. But it's a very important. It's a very important project that needed to.
And it couldn't piggyback on Ogata Towers UV or no company block government by Wakame.
Chair, I'm not an expert on that. I cannot say that it can do that. No, I think it probably needs its own land. But I do not know the technicalities of it, sir.
You should explore it, because I think surely there's got to be, in today's world, there's got to be synergies in these things. But in terms of governance, you removed SIBC from the SOE schedule, and it would be good to put it back there. You have a little bit better regulatory framework around governance. It didn't make sense to remove it in the first place. It was probably more political than governance related. What's the thinking now? You're going to put it back under the SOE schedule?
I think the Chair, the current thinking at the moment, I mean, it remains as it is. The government, through the Prime Minister's office, also provides subvention grants directly to.
That can still continue. Just because I'm become an SOE does not mean you couldn't be doing that. You can still be doing that. I mean, or get social service obligations, no more. But in terms of the governance itself, and especially because it's a public broadcaster, a national broadcaster, it is good for it to have an arm's length relationship with the Prime Minister's office. It's our only national outreach broadcaster.
Thank you, Chair. We take note of that suggestion.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, and just to supplement that, one of the things that we were able to do with SIBC and administration then as an SOE was to mobilize additional external resources. So, for instance, during the games, we have been able to mobilize funds from Saudi Arabia through the Pacific Games to support SIBC as the Games domestic broadcaster and help with that fund to improve the studios and remodel that. And now, normally in the SOEs, we would not be able to do that initially.
I beg to differ. I don't think that it being an SOE would have been in any way an impediment to you doing what you did with the Saudi government. You could still do that. Part law government, extension law government, but in terms of its governance, importantly, the SOE Act is actually a fairly robust idea. It's a fairly robust piece of legislation.
I think so.
In terms of governance, it sets a number of thresholds, and it is good for us. It still is actually quite fit for purpose, and so you shouldn't be dragging your feet. Solomon Water and SIBC should go back on the schedule to the SOE Act. It is better for governance. If we're talking about good governance, we should be doing it.
I would share the same view as well, but I mean, I don't know why is it the requirement of Saudi Arabia, why they want it to be a statutory or a government agency versus an SOE. I don't know. Was that a sticking point when you were negotiating with them, or?
No, it wasn't a Saudi Arabia requirement. It was more the channeling of finance from what would be a government institution or semi-government institution to another semi-government institution.
Yeah. Well, say, I mean, that pattern of thinking is sort of, in a way, it triggers my thinking to the way that you will deal with the manager, moving away from special fund and using it just like a normal government agency. And then when it comes to audit, we want to jump back to the special fund to complicate the arrangements on audit. I think, this is a platform for us to discuss openly. I ran FOPA under my premiership. But that is a direct delivery system, through the Treasury, not a special fund. So if anybody comes up, with issues concerning the procurements and other consideration, then that's fine. But I don't think it is right for us to circumvent, the letters of the law in the way that, we should. These institutions were designed by Parliament. That is my issue on this, and it falls under the purview, custodianship of your institution. So just go back, Noma, and correct him with Noma, because performance audit will come up with something quite different here. It could be nasty too, because if the financial audit is not done properly, performance audit will come and pick it up and say, "Come on, get out of your desk and do this." That's the whole purpose of performance audit here. It's a surface audit, but it will allow a much deeper, trailing of, how things are not done down there, So I really respect all of you. You are absolutely, great gentlemen, and, with such an esteem, experiences, please, let's clean this up. That's our role as Public Accounts Committee, to give you some guidance through this process. So, look at that one no more. That would be my comment on that, and then you may any more no more. Just coming back to the your submission, lawyer, there's one head that I'm really touch him a little bit, ting blom, whereas allowances public servants here. If you look at what is in here, it almost hits more than 20 million here, more than the gross salary here. What is that various allowance here? Why it even exceeded the salary below the officers too? Yeah, the established salaries here. Various allowances, public servants here. Allowances, or are they supposed to be the normal emoluments that should have been built into the salary subheads here. SPM, what's your thinking on that? I'm almost 20 million here. I mean, if you look at it, wage allowances, public servants, wage allowances, public servants, you put that all together, it's more than 20 million, isn't it? Yes. Well,
Package.
Yeah.
is it something that, we're just doing it purposely, or FC, it will SPM, what's your, please, SPM?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that question, and it's also good to point that on that. Now, most of the officers employed under the Prime Minister's office, for example, are contracted officers, and the contracted positions, of course, have got emoluments attached to it, and there are disallowances that are tied to that. That's basically my understanding of that, and that's how we. But if you look at our overall salary, payroll actually reduced a bit by a small margin of about 3%. But in terms of that question, yes, it's actually tied to.
Do you have a better particulars of them? What are the details of?
Details of that, yeah?
So that we can really support him normal report plan.
Thank you.
Who are those contracted officers here? Are they political appointees or?
So
They're the ones?
it covers political appointees. It also covers, of course, the deputy secretaries, for example, and PSCs as well, also covered under those emoluments. So, I mean, PSCs, of course, are covered under that.
So, in 2025, I haven't seen it in 2024, but 2025 and 2026.
Yeah. So, what has also happened was that we had to make adjustments to ensure that it captures all emoluments for all contracted staff. So I mean that's the reason. So it's properly reflected. So it's been reflected, in different parts of the payroll budget altogether. But I mean that's essentially my understanding of that bit. I can, if you permit me, Chair, I can ask my human resource manager to perhaps speak to the specifics if needed.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think SPM has detailed all the allowances that comes under the various allowance. It's from the PSS positions and political positions with all the new transitional contracts for direct level 12 and above. That's all that's why it's detailed as my SPM has said.
So this is the subhead that we were using for all the permanent secretaries.
Yes, yes.
So that explains it. Okay.
But you can break down it.
Yeah.
How much now, or permanent secretaries, how much just in categories no more, and political appointees, and then you can submit later. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. We'll submit that to the Secretary. Thank you.
And I think it would be more neater for us to really differentiate in our political appointments, subheads versus the permanent secretaries for purposes of visibility. And because even everyone knows how our permanent secretary is being paid for, and here we are, basically capture them in the way that they are now. Whereas allowances here, whereas allowances to permanent secretaries, you got to have the public to read exactly, what we enumerated them, Jimmy. So, please.
Thank you, Chairman. We'll provide the details. We'll separate it out from permanent secretaries, political appointees, and.
These are the highest managers in the organization, and then you meet three Timoteo, you pay allowance lower number Right. Any other question? Well, we're not going to ask you anything more. But I think let's take the concerns that the Public Accounts Committee has expressed on protecting the integrity and the position of the highest official of the country. I think it would be good for us to ensure that we do effort to really bring some of those issues to bear, and to ensure that our public are put in a good position to be able to see how now you may perform in these positions. For now, Secretary Cabinet and SPMs, thank you so much. Thank you for your engagement with the committee. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, and
Thank you.
have a
Thank you very
pleasant
much,
weekend
Honorable
too. Thank you.